I knew there was something that I had forgotten. I didn't have my mic arm down. Well then, I'm still not entirely finished setting up. I perhaps started the stream slightly too early. No particular reason I was late setting up, I just left things to the last minute. But I do have glasses now, as I should have. So then, I haven't yet finished setting up, what is it? My video manager, so I can't see any chat or viewer numbers, but I don't think there's going to be anyone in the stream this early yet. Moody is probably asleep based on the lack of response. But that's fine. I can fly solo this time. I don't want to be too silent, so positive and negatives today. Big positive is my glasses. Finally got added. They were supposed to be here originally, but I didn't even notice that they were missing. But there is unfortunately a fairly serious negative right now. And that is, I forgot to save this drawing as a project, and instead it got saved as a JPEG, which means that there are no layers. Everything got compressed down to one layer, which means I'm going to have to work with what I have now, which is very unfortunate. So, time to solidify legs, because this... yes. Yep. Welcome to the chat, GSOC. Oh. It doesn't even have a background. Yes, the legs aren't how I would like them to end up being. Okay, so I need to add a canvas. See, that's not something that I've had to do. I think... Let's see. If I create a new folder, or a new page. Yes, this has paper for the background. I can probably copy this layer. I'm so unfamiliar with... I mean, it's relatively simple, but... That is a possibility, but... It also seems like a lot of effort for something that I'd benefit from fairly little. Seeing as I hardly make full use of layers in the first place. I think my main need right now is for a proper background layer. Because if I erase things, the background shows. And I don't particularly want that. Ah! My cat's appeared. He's poking his head through a little hole in the wall. And then I just create a new layer and color fill it to white. That should work fine. is the only way that I know how to fix this problem. Yeah, that works fine. Okay, so need these pants to be baggier. Don't want too much figure showing through them. It's the main problem that I am having right now. So let's just get rid of all of this center portion. Just all of the legs, actually. All of the legs can go. Okay, so now I can just open a new layer and start the legs from scratch. Let's see, 3-point brush is probably a good thickness. So straight down from there. Should probably darken the line. Make it a non-white color. There's the standard color picker. So straight down from the waist, or slightly out from the waist then. Okay. That's around where the hips turn into leg. And we want this leg to be back a little bit. Slightly staggered stance, 1 foot, a half step in front of the other, was the original pose that I was going for. There. And I get to have the feet go off of the bottom canvas. So then I do this. Just have the pants line going up the center, and the other leg emerges here. No, that's not how that leg would bend. I don't think, at least. I should probably get a reference. Let's see. Half step. Half step is a musical, what is it? Musical denotation. That is not what I wanted. Interesting. I found a fairly useful image of a stick figure walking, and that does translate fairly well. But not quite what I'm looking for. Walking character. I assume there are far better, far better references than Google Images. But this does seem to be what I'm looking for. Okay. Let's try this. I do hope to be able to draw without using such specific references. No. Doesn't want to be put onto the canvas. see if I can't find it just through image sorting. I guess it's not the correct file type. That's annoying. Ah! That's the most stationary GIF file I've ever seen. I already closed the search page. Character walking reference. Now then. It's a very useful image. Perhaps I'll just have it off to the side and it just won't be visible on stream. That is. Alright. So then. But if I click, I wonder, is there a way to tie this to the very front of the screen? Probably. Perhaps I can just simply attempt to convert it to another file type. See. Now if I just save that. Are you still a GIF? You are. Why are you still a GIF? It's not moving at all. Okay, if I open it in Paint and I save it as, is it JPEG? Now maybe that'll work. Voila. I now have a reference for walking. Let's see. I think stride would be the best, or maybe passing position, the one on the right. I think that's probably what I want to use as reference. Anyway. Time to take this, put it over here. Alright, now then, legs. Let's get you into position. So I actually want the legs to be reversed. I can do that fairly simply, I'm sure. And I know how to do it in a very roundabout manner. Good morning, Mitz. Welcome to the stream. Earlier I was talking about how I didn't save this correctly, so everything's on a single layer right now, so I'm gonna have to work with that. Okay, so if I just follow similar lines, I need to make the legs a lot wider because of how baggy the pants are, so if I am to follow the directions, this is hips. Probably curve that line up a bit earlier. Sort of like this. There we are. So this is the splitting point, so There won't be much differentiation here, so it can just go straight down before moving off to the side, because this leg will be in front of the other one ever so slightly. Sort of like this. Wider at the base. That seems like a good idea. Pants should be baggy. Sort of like this. How to make pants baggy, but also convey the location of legs. I think I drawn the legs first, and then drawn pants around them. That's probably the best way to do it. Too thin. Let's actually get proper with anatomy, and I will draw in knees. There we go. I did also spend a fair bit of time prior to this stream watching other artists working on things. Hopefully to give me some better insights into what to do with my own work. Although I should probably just watch tutorials instead, because the main thing I'm missing in my knowledge set is the basics. Okay, so now I can add the pants surrounding this. Actually, I should probably do that on a new layer, since this is a sketch, honestly. I'll name it as such, too. Now then, onto the proper legs. So, comes out from the hips at around the same point. A bit wider than the legs. This one is in the back, so it is secondary in terms of where the pants come from. The hip obviously can't go out that far on the side. It should stay fairly close to the legs because the knee is pressing outwards on the fabric. So there, if I curve it back in like that, and now I hide the sketch, that looks a lot cleaner. Ugh. It's almost as if I have nearly no clue as to what I'm doing. Okay, so I can just hide the sketch. And unfortunately, my references are no longer here either. I can actually just get... Yeah, I can get rid of the leg reference. I'm not using it anymore. Just bring these all the way down to the bottom. Alright. Now then, I need to bring back the Fireman and Moody reference images. Let's see, reference pictures folder. I had done a fair amount of resizing on these as well. Hopefully they aren't excessively large. I think I only need the firefighter at this point. Okay, I really just need to look at how the pants look like. Right, so they have cargo pockets on the side of them. So let's just add in some slight details for that. Fairly simple looking pocket. Put a button here. It should be changed by perspective, so it should look taller. There we go. There, like that. Add in a couple finer details. Same thing on the other side. They looked like they were symmetrical as far as I could tell. Maybe not. There's no harm in adding a little bit of extra details. Perhaps these should... Yes, not perhaps. These should definitely create an impression on the outside of the pants. Let's see. Sort of like this, then? Bring that base a bit lower, then. Alright. I definitely don't need an eraser that large. Well, maybe I do. In a self-deprecating sort of manner. Okay. Let's see, the button for this one, because I have this leg turned ever so slightly more to the side. So you just get a couple pixels worth of detail there. Let's see. I wonder, should this have a button that's also coming off of the side of the pants? Is that too advanced for me? I think so. Well, in that case, I will simply add some details to indicate that this is fabric. So, wrinkles around the knees. Going to want to indent the fabric a little bit. That looks about right. It's kind of awkward, though. Oh no. Details and wrinkles on clothing are something that I am probably not anywhere near accurate enough to represent. Let's see, should I bring this up a bit higher? Also probably shouldn't have it be curving to the right. The line of the center fold of the legs. Yeah, that looks a bit better. I was going to attempt to describe the layout of the room that I am in right now, because my pet cat is doing something very unusual, and it's very hard to accurately describe what it is without a layout or understanding of the room that I'm currently in, so suffice it to say that I am behind a wall that used to have a record player sitting on a shelf on it that had a hole through the wall through which the cords would come into a power outlet. However, the record player has recently been moved, and my cat's just poking his head through the hole in the wall. Alright, well, this is a fairly simple job at this point. I just need coloring in. And then shading for a little bit of extra emphasis. Now this layer is leg color. So that should be nearer the back. It can't be behind this because there are some areas where there's still white left over. Although I can do my best. I can just erase the extra bits of white afterwards. It seems like it could work out fairly well. So I know the outlines of the legs are safe, because those are... actually, no, I don't know that. But this is the path that I have decided to take. So even if it is wrong, I'll only find out afterwards. And then I will admit my mistake and be ashamed. Are some interesting topics. There's not much to say when I'm coloring. Normally I explain my process, but there's not much of a process to explain when coloring, especially the way that I do it, which is agonizingly slowly. I guess one important topic is that I am now more seriously considering getting a tablet for art, because doing everything with a mouse is probably far worse for my muscle memory than I know. However, I don't want to necessarily invest as much as getting a tablet into something that is purely hobby, specifically because it's not something that I am inherently good at. Alright, I've started hitting areas on the base. Yes, this is all mouse. Huh? Yes, whenever I am watching artists who are coloring or streaming, I never really understand how they do what they do. It's always very impressive to me. Is there nothing on the leg sketch layer? What is happening right now? Why can't I draw? I wanted to make the pockets. Is it on this layer? It can't be. I just erased. Yeah. It should be on leg sketch. It's not letting me do anything with that layer. I'm very confused. Ah! Okay, so then it's not leg sketch, it's just legs. Thanks for the, I can just get rid of leg sketch, actually. Good thing you could, see that behind my head. I know I am directly in front of where the layers are, but that's probably the best location. I'm still in... No, it's just not the correct color. Yes. Yes, that is a problem that I have run into myself in the, I guess, few weeks that I have been doing art now. I guess I just didn't notice it this time. Alright. I think the pocket itself in its entirety should be moved outwards slightly. There we go. Looks a bit better. Oh, right, and the base. Cut the fabric in a little bit there so that I don't have to move out the entire pocket. And now I can get back to coloring. Nice and simple. Ah, I missed a portion of the original image there. No problem. I can just go back and fix that later. So then I'll just color in all of this hidden area, and I can use a smaller eraser to excavate what I have previously drawn. On the wrong layer, once more. This is very difficult. I need peak precision here. Because the outline's already fairly thin, I can't afford to lose too much more. Right. There. Oh. Okay. Now, I was casting about for topics to discuss while working on coloring. Unfortunately, my creativity has run fairly dry. So I should talk about something to do with what I'm currently doing, which is art. What to say? Well, perhaps I can talk about any artistic inspirations I might have. The main one is Drawfee, which is a YouTube channel that used to be run by College Humor, but since that division was, I guess, downsized, laid off, they have become an independent channel that is no longer affiliated with College Humor. They have 4 main hosts. And I've been watching that content for many years now. I've always thought that making art is something very interesting. It's something that I never particularly thought I would be any good at it. I'm still not. I've only drawn, this is the 3rd thing that I have attempted to draw so far, using digital artwork at the very least. I've obviously drawn prior to that, but this is the first serious attempt that I've made into actually creating something. There's so much I still have to learn. I often hear various terms brought up, things like layer masking, that I don't understand at all. But from what I understand, layer masking seems to be a fairly important step in the process of coloring something. It seems to be what allows artists to color something without going into pixel detail like I do. And I assume it has something to do with creating layer boundaries specifically on lines that have already been drawn. And it's probably something that I should investigate in my own time, so that I'm not taking up stream time with it. I've only attempted to draw off stream once. Here we are. But it did feel like, while I was drawing it, it did feel like this is something that I could have been doing on stream. It just feels like I was spending time doing something that I could have been turning into content, because at this point, expanding my... Expanding my current library of content is one of the most important things for me. Okay. I guess I'm technically shading right now, which I think is supposed to be done on a separate layer with slightly transparent tools, which I will be doing. I just want to get pants done. Dark button, tan. Okay, so if I take the base color and darken it to a fairly dark layer, I add a shading layer. Where is it? Now I drop the opacity to around half. And I probably want like a spray brush. If I do that, that looks like shading. I assume this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Okay, so... Oh, this looks like shading. Okay, and now... if I shade along the belt like that, it gives the impression that it is casting a shadow. Yes. That looks fairly good. And now I'm going to erase the shading on top of the belt. Yes, this is probably where having things on separate layers would have been helpful. Okay, I guess that just sort of makes things look dirty instead of shaded. I guess if I drop the opacity even lower, maybe that's what I need to be doing. Maybe if I blend? No, that doesn't look very good. Oh. I should probably just try and make everything look curved so that it fits with the natural geometry. There. Okay. That looks reasonable. Okay, but now we can add leg shading. Because now that I've added shading to one area, I have to add it to the rest, or else it's going to make things look inconsistent. Ah. Looks like some stuff from another layer made it onto this part of the canvas. I think that's some lines from the default that accidentally made their way over. Yes. Leg color. Let's fill that back in. Now back to leg shading. And I can start airbrushing again. Did it actually pick the lighter opacity and then make it even lighter? That seems like what happened, yes. Interesting. That's an interaction that I didn't expect. Let's see, I think I want to make it sort of V in the center so that it looks like a proper shadow is being cast. Follow the hands a little bit. Yeah, it does look sort of just like those are just damp areas. Let's get rid of the shading that escaped the side here. It's darkening the outside a bit too much. Background's not going to be plain white either, but just for the sake of things looking fine. So, let's see, I guess if you're still around, GSOC, what sort of art do you do? Because you've talked a fair bit about having similar artistic problems that I'm having. Or not similar problems, but the general problems that I'm having you are able to elucidate and explain. Put some shading on the braid. I do wish I had maintained layer integrity now. What's done is done. And that's fair. All art is art. I hesitate to even... I don't know. I guess I'm a bit more critical of my own work. I was about to say I'm hesitant to call this art, but I feel like that's a bit too harsh. Many things are art. Yes, I'll have to take a look at what you've done before. I'm interested. I don't have too many people who watch my content, so I feel like I should be a bit more personable. That sounds sort of harsh towards people who have larger followings, not saying that they aren't personable with their audiences. Why did that happen? Ah, it's on eraser, that's why that happened. It's just a single purple pixel there for some reason. And then back to shading. So, I think I'm just about done, honestly. Like I stated, I believe at the end of last stream, there's not much left for me to work on. I've made the shading fairly consistent. There's probably some areas that I could improve on. But other than that, I am relatively satisfied with what I've done so far. Ah, yes, I was going to add highlights to the hair. I knew I had been forgetting something. So then, let me just pull up this reference picture for Moody. And I'll just color pick the lighter portions of his hair. Actually, you know what? I'll just grab his head, cut it off, and bring it over to the art piece. I need to resize this down. Alright, so I want to look at how the shading on this works. I don't have a harsh light source, so I definitely don't need to add in the very light portions of the hair. Yes, apply that transformation, thank you very much. Okay. Now then, I will add... what should this layer be called? Hair details? Alright. Thank you for being around, Mitzbun. Hair details. Oh, what have I done? I moved my mouse over onto the wrong portion of the screen. Okay, so I'm probably only going to do some two-tone shading, so I'll just grab the most similar one. Perhaps I should have started with a lighter color for the hair, because the dark color that I did use for the base is actually the highlight color, interestingly enough. So then I'm just going to... Oh no. Okay. Never mind. I thought ahead. Yeah. I thought I did something wrong, but it turns out I was being a bit too critical of my own thought processes. I didn't select the darkest layer, very fortunately. So now I can just get some spike details to follow the lines of the hair. There's probably a way for me to make this look a fair bit better, but this is the best I know. And it makes it look a fair bit better than just one flat color. Ah, and I should probably also add some shading cast from the hat. That seems fairly important. Let's see, a little bit of a viewer survey right now, but what... This is for... just for reference. What specifically do you think the strengths of my content are? So I'm trying to focus a bit more on solidifying any potential strengths that I have, just to make my content better. Because I mainly went into this without any real plan. I was sort of intending to do natural, sort of the everyday streamer sort of things. I didn't actually... Yes, that was the general impression that I would pick up from specifically Moody, that is also what he said. I do understand that a lot of the time calmer Vtubers, or even just calmer streamers, which is what I tend to be, moments aren't very clippable or shareable. It's more just the experience of watching that's the interesting part. So I'm trying to think about ways that I could go about improving the way I do things like that. I'm also just going to undo all of those braid highlights that I did, because I feel like drawing with a less solid brush is probably the way to go for this. Yes, that's something that I've been considering and sort of thinking about. But also, that is something that I never considered, doing ASMR. I never really thought to utilize my voice as an asset. Because to me, my voice always has sounded fairly normal. Of course, to most people, their voice sounds normal. I'm trying to make these look like highlights in hair, but they just end up looking sort of like veins, which is definitely not the impression that I'm trying to go for. I think maybe I should keep them enclosed. Just have them follow the pattern. See, I'm actually going to try and use an actual brush for this. I haven't used any different brushes aside from the most basic pen. So what does this look like? This is probably something that would be solved if I had pen pressure and I was able to make lines thinner on their own. I guess I'm just going to experiment with different brushes, see what looks good for hair highlights. This seems to be working. But I also don't want it to be too stylistically different from the rest of the hair. And I don't want it to be too consistent, or else it looks like a pattern. Well, maybe I will look into... Ooh. That's a very interesting brush shape, but I don't think it's what I need. Yes, I think I might look into potentially doing ASMR. It's not something that I have ever done before. I was never too interested in watching ASMR streams, but perhaps I will look into watching some just for reference in that case. Okay, I'm going to take a look back at the original image and try and figure out how would I do highlights based on how the highlights look in this image. It's a lot of hard corners. Or not hard corners, but sharp corners. I think I need some recurve so that it's not just straight lines. Okay, let's increase the opacity almost to where I had it before. Perhaps lines like that would help. Let's see. Well, if we examine how the hair is moving as a part of a braid, it's sort of connecting from the outside here and then moving in and around like that. So I think if I just follow hairlines, perhaps this will be enough for it to not look like I'm just copying the same portion of hair, which I didn't. But the issue arises when it looks like it's mirrored. Interesting. How do I solve that dilemma? So then, like this? No. Not quite. Very difficult. I'm going to add some taper to the edges of the already existing one so that it looks a bit more thematically consistent with how I'm doing the braid highlights. And perhaps I'll just do something simple. I feel as if how I started doing it was probably the closest to what I want the end result to be. I think I might try going back to that. There we are. Let's see. What other topics? I'm very aware of moments where I just go completely silent. Definitely want to improve on that. My solo conversation deck isn't particularly strong. I feel like I have a lot more, or a lot stronger of a conversation deck when I am talking with other people. I've been considering working on... Yes, I've been considering working on a more consistent schedule. I do tend to stream at the same time every day. Or not every day, but whenever I stream, I tend to only do it in the same grouping of time. But I feel like if I had a proper schedule, that might also be helpful. That's definitely something I've been considering. My main issue is that if I were to do that, I'd probably want one of those fancy cards that all of the VTubers seem to have, so I've been considering commissioning some artwork for that. But the Skeb website is confusing, and I don't know how to use it. So it's more just a half-finished thought at this point. Yeah, I think this is actually what I was trying to go for all along, which was where I started. I also need to get a new PC. This one freezes occasionally while I'm just drawing, honestly. So I assume that once you're familiar with how Skeb works, that's fine, and you can navigate it easily. But the main thing I wanted was the ability to sort artists by categories or possibly previous works, like what sort of artwork that they have previously done. But whenever I tried to search for that individually, it wasn't very useful. For instance, I was trying to find artists that may have previously worked on butlers or people in suits, that sort of thing. But the search functionality isn't quite useful enough for me to do that. Because suits can mean so many different things. Because the main art piece that was brought up whenever I searched suits was mechas. Yes. Yes, there are a few artists that I do follow, but most of them are either far too popular for me to squeeze a commission in, or their art style is a bit too dissimilar to what I'm looking for. Perhaps I should look into the artists that I am following and see if any of them appear on Skeb. And then I can work from there. Yes, I think... I was just about to repeat myself and say for the second or third time, I think this looks like what I was trying to go for this entire time, but I do really need to improve my ability to talk to myself when I am unable to describe what I am currently doing without being a broken record. And the fill bucket tool doesn't work here either because the interior edges are slightly faded, so if I attempt to fill bucket it, it misses the edges, which is almost infuriating. That was the issue that I had when I very first started using Clip Studio Paint. Was that I believe I tried to draw a background for myself. Ah, really? Yes, I tried to draw a background for myself, but when I was using the fill tool, it never seemed to work properly. So I just sort of gave up there. So I did only get Clip Studio Paint on a whim because it was on sale. I never actually intended to use it this extensively, or this frequently. But I do have quite a bit of fun using it. It's nice to draw art. I wish I'd started earlier, in all honesty. Had a bit more practice in what I'm doing. Although I often feel that way about everything. If only I'd gotten into this just a bit earlier. I only decided to become a VTuber fairly late into when I was interested in it. And a lot of people were becoming independents as well. I feel like I was not necessarily quick on the uptake, but I feel like I might have had the inclination a bit sooner than most. I don't know. The first, I believe the first record I have of attempting to do this is around October 2nd. That was about the point where I started, or had the idea to start this, rather. Yes. Well, I think that's my work done here. I'm relatively satisfied. I think I'll put a bit of shading on the back of the legs, actually. Yes, after that, I think that's it. That's all I really wanted to get done with this. Legs look just a bit too plain. And then I need to add a background as well. I don't want it just to be on plain white. I think I'll do that afterwards, because it's probably just going to be myself spending time looking on Google Images for pictures of forest fires. Yeah, thanks for being around. This is a bit of a shorter stream, just over 1 hour. I did appreciate that you came by and talked with me, GSock. I'm assuming I'm saying your name right. Is there any pronunciation? Do you prefer to just be called G or Sock or something else like that? Really? Okay. Yes, just transforming it by dragging across. I think I just sort of intuitively did that because I needed an image the other way. That was off stream a little while ago when I was working on some other artwork that I did upload to my Twitter. Yeah. There's probably a more correct way to do it, but I tend to solve most of my problems in a fairly analog method. Yes, shading on the head. I'll just do it on the same layer. I need to darken it first, or else it won't appear. It's below. That's also why. Let's see. I guess this shouldn't just go on the normal shading layer, yeah. It's not very noticeable, but I don't think it needs to be. As long as what I'm doing is consistent, it's fine. I keep saying that I'm about to end, but then I want to add in more details. I do that fairly often. Alright, I am going to call it there, though. That is satisfactory, as far as I'm concerned. So then, So I'll just hide that. Zoom out a bit. So here we have my mostly finished work. The legs look very wrong now that I'm looking at it from here. Perhaps they should be a bit shorter. Oh well. Hopefully no one notices. Maybe I'll put something in the foreground in front of the knees when I'm editing in the background. But other than that, I think I am satisfied with what I've done so far. It's probably not the most anatomically correct piece of artwork, but it's the best I can do. So I am going to properly end it here. Thank you for being around, GSock and Mitz, who was here earlier. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for your time.